So this is Reclaim Part 2. So last week we took our liquid slop clay, our slurry, and we dumped it into a plaster sink. And so I waited and waited and waited until what was in here was just softer than a clay consistency that I would like to use. You can see in my plaster sink I had a cloth because that makes it easier to pick up, and it also prevents plaster from getting on there. And today I'm going to take that clay out of there and slice it up. Now if it was a bit softer than this, that's okay too. What you do if it's a little soft is you make a rainbow with it. And so if this was sticky, see how it's not sticky? If it was sticky, you can't really wedge it just because it's kind of difficult to wedge it when it's all sticky. It doesn't stick together well. So you would do this, and you would roll those sticky chunks of clay into what I would call a rainbow, like this. This shape allows the most air to surface area so that it can dry. And then I would set those aside. Okay, and then I would come back, whatever, later in the day when this wasn't totally sticky. So this clay is actually perfect for slam wedging now. So I'm going to show you slam wedging, how to take the clay that came from our reclaim buckets, dried down in our plaster sink, and how to take that and turn that into nice usable clay. So you saw me slice it up, and now I'm going to slam wedge. And I'm not going to talk while I slam wedge it because it's loud. So. Okay. And then from there, pound that all together and go again. So sometimes the clay that you're working with is wet and sloppy and sticky, and that's fine. Just keep slamming it together. See how all the slices were going that way? So now I'm going to cut across it this way. And repeat. And you keep doing it until you don't see this kind of stuff. So see like the variation, like the bubbles and the different colors, and you can see different chunks and stuff. So you might have to do it, I don't know, 10 times, 15 times, whatever. And often when I'm doing this reclaim, the wet reclaim that came out of the plaster sinks, I can mix in stuff like this. So these were some balls of clay that were wedged for students, and they didn't use them. And you probably know by now that if you wedge your balls of clay and don't use them that day, that they're hard and they're no fun to use the next day. So I'm going to slam wedge those in with my other clay that needs to be reclaimed. It's a good activity for a cold day because you can work up a sweat. And if this seems like a huge block of clay to you and you don't think that you can lift that, then just work with smaller amounts that you can lift. Right? Maybe you're watching this and you think this is a tiny amount of clay. I'm sure there's people out there that can do more clay than this at one time. There's no need to put strain on our bodies. There, see that? You can see how it's mixing together. Just work with the amount that you can do. I don't know if you saw what I'm doing there, but see how the slices are going this way? Now I put the next slice going this way. Just There's no hard, fast rules. Just try to do what you think is going to get it all mixed up. Now this video is turning into watching paint dry. So I'm going to move on to what I do to finish it. Now I cut it into chunks that I can wedge in the normal way. So I use spiral wedging. This is how I wedge up my balls of clay for throwing on the wheel. You maybe use ram's head wedging, which looks like this. Whatever method you normally use for wedging your balls of clay, switch to that. So you start by slam wedging it, and then you switch. This is ram's head. And if you kept your clay, if you monitored your clay that's in your plaster bat, if you kept it nice and soft, this is going to be easy, right? Because you can wedge these balls of clay, set it aside in a bag, and wait a couple weeks and it'll be perfect for using. It's okay to do your wedging while everything's soft. As long as it's not sticky. If it's coming off in your hands, it's too soft. But if you can do it a little bit soft, it's a nice way to work. Okay, let's check this, right? I think this piece is done. Okay, that's decent. You can see a little bit of variation, but if I put this in the bag and let it sit and all meld together for even a day, but up to however long, a month, it will just all blend together and be nice to use. I don't use my reclaim immediately after I wedge it. Like, I'm not gonna go take this ball of clay and throw it right now. I'm gonna wait and let it all sit and blend and merge, and like, if you can imagine all the water between all the different parts leveling out so every bit of the clay has the same amount of water in it. Remember grade 9 science, osmosis? Okay, so I just want to show you how I put it together to put it in the bag, because you can't put balls of clay in the bag. They'll dry out and too fast and it'll be too hard. So there's one ball that I've wedged. Just going to wedge all of these together. This would be really good to edit out. I hope you can see that. See what I've done there? Okay. Oh, this piece too big. One more. God, every place I've worked in the past 20 years, actually 24 years, one of my jobs has been to help manage the reclaim. And it's just fact of life. I think the best advice I can give on your reclaim is just keep up on it. Do a little as often as you can. Because when you have a whole lot to do at once and you don't have any clay, it's a drag. So just do a little bit each day. Stay up on top of it. Stay on top of your buckets. Keep sieving the water off. You know, mix them every once in a while. Okay, so you saw how I wedged the balls of clay, and you saw how I stacked them all up with the spirals all going the same way. And then I merged the clay together a little bit with my fingertips. And now I'm slamming it together a bit to really compress it, get rid of all those wrinkles and bits, because if you leave those there, that's another place where it can dry more, right? God, we've done so much work to get it to here. We don't want to have to redo this. We want this to be all nice and ready to use. Right? So stuff like that, smush that all together. I found this lot to be a little on the dry side, so I'm just going to spray it before I put it in the bag. You guys know, always keep your clay bags with the clay inside. Never turn them inside out so that you don't get the dust. Okay. So put that right in there down to the very end. Like I said, I don't want this to dry. I'm not doing this again. Okay, and then write the date on the end here and use the oldest one first, like a restaurant. Okay, first in, first out, right? And I think that's it. Now you have fresh, awesome clay ready to use, okay? You can do this infinitely, indefinitely, forever and ever. You can always, if it hasn't been fired, you can always recycle your clay, no matter how wet or dry it is. So, and people say that the older the clay is, the more plastic it is. So you don't need a Pugmill. This is just as good. It's just a little more labor intensive. All right, thanks for watching. Have fun making pots, use up all your clay, and sign up for a class. Check me out, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, turningbowlpottery.com. Thanks, bye.